everybody. I had the best reading month in February. So this video is a wrap up of all of the books that I read in February. Welcome and welcome back. If you are new to the channel, I'm Michelle and I do a channel called Silver Colored Glasses. We talked about everything aging, seniorhood. And my mission this year with reading is to find books that are age appropriate, something that some of us seniors might seek out and really enjoy. I'm finding that I'm not necessarily that engaged anymore with coming of age or young adult kind of fiction that I used to read, and so I'm really searching out, actively searching out things that I think that those of us seniors might really enjoy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So in February, I started 17 books. I read 14 of them, and then 3 of those were DNFs that I put down, just couldn't finish. So I wanted to talk to you about those. Out of those 14, I was shocked at just the whole spectrum of genres that I read for the month. Most of the time, when I was growing up, was a mystery and romance reader, and I'm finding that I'm loving the thrillers and I'm loving the fantasy books, romantasy books as well. So I read several of each of those this month, and then a couple of other books that were just really shocking surprises to me. So let's get into it. So the first book that I read in February was called Everything is Probably Fine. The first book that I read this month was called Everything is Probably Fine, and it was by Julia London. This book was such a surprise. I sort of just found it by mistake, but it is about a very career-oriented woman who is just kind of getting bored of her job. She's getting to the point where she's pretty negative with her coworkers, and she gets called into her boss's office one morning, and her boss tells her that they've noticed a real change in her attitude. They're finding that she's very negative and difficult to work with, as reported by her coworkers. And so instead of firing her, they're going to send her to a month-long sort of sabbatical kind of thing, therapy day program that she's going to go to. And her directive is to get her negative attitude in check. So she is forced to do that rather than losing her job, and she is not happy about it at all. So she's very snarky about it. She's very, hesitant to go. She's just really reluctant to sort of dive into the whole therapy process. But once she gets there, she finds that she starts to make some friends. She's listening to the stories of other people in the group, and she's finding that she's getting something out of it. The best thing of the book, though, I have to tell you, is this adopted little boy that lives in her little apartment complex that she's staying in while she's there. His name is Benjamin, and they call him Bean, and he adopts her and she adopts him, and they just become fast friends. The father is working single dad, and the 3 of them just develop this very fast relationship and friendship. And this little Bean guy just takes Lorna, who is the main character, and sort of forces her to let down her guard and forces her to be playful and fun and find the joy in life. And he's just a little delight. He just makes the whole story so wonderful. But it's a story of really finding yourself, looking for the things that you enjoy in your life, developing your life around those kinds of things. It's a found family novel, and I just loved it. So pick it up if you can. The second book that I read was called The Switch, and I've talked about this a couple of times in a couple of my other videos. It was on my TBR for this year. And it's by Beth O'Leary. And this is a story about a retired grandmother who is talking to her granddaughter on the phone. And they find that both of them are very unhappy in the current places that they're at with their lives. And the grandmother lives in one, I think she lives in a city, and then the granddaughter lives in the country, or vice versa. Can't remember now. But they decide on the telephone that they want to switch lives with each other. So the granddaughter goes with where the grandmother lives, and the grandmother goes with where the granddaughter lives, and they sort of take on each other's lives in terms of responsibilities, pet care. The grandmother takes care of some people in her living complex, and they sort of immerse themselves into the friendships that the other one has in their own lives. And it is just a delightful book about again, really focusing on the things that make you happy and joyful, and finding people in your life that make you laugh and stretch your stretch your abilities and stretch your confidence. And it's just a fun book about the possibility of just jumping into a different life for yourself. There's a movie I've mentioned also when I was talking about this called The Holiday. One of my favorite movies, and it stars Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz. And in this movie, they switch lives as well. One lives in California, one lives in England in a cottage, and they decide over the holidays to switch houses just to get a break from what they're doing. And they really find love and adventure and friendship, and it's just a delightful movie. And this book is really very similar to that. Different characters, obviously, and different settings, but just a really delightful opportunity to change your life in some way. So really fun. So pick that one up too. The third book that I read was Sunrise on the Reaping, and this is a Suzanne Collins book. It is the prequel to Hunger Games, and I had said that I'm not real into the young adult kind of coming of age thing, but I was just hooked when the Hunger Games series came out a couple of years ago. I read it with my daughter, who then was, I think she was maybe 17-ish, 16-ish, and we read it together, and just a delightful series, just very immersive. And so this book, and it now has an adaptation into a movie that's coming out this year, so I wanted to read it. This book follows the story, if you've been reading or following along with this series, of Hamish Abernathy, and he is a mentor of the current Hunger Games characters, and it tells his backstory and his childhood. This book is heart-wrenching. It is so sad. It is so, it was a hard read. Not that it wasn't a good story, it was a beautiful story about him trying to really find his way without any support, without any adults in his court, and the things that he loses in his life, the losses and the grief that he goes through. It really tells why he is and turns into the adult that he is in the other books. And so it's a beautiful story, but heart-wrenching to listen to. Oh, sorry, that's my dryer. So again, very recommended, but oh gosh, it was gut-wrenching. The fourth book that I read was called One Golden Summer, and it's by Carley Fortune. And this is the first book that I read of hers. And I know that this book was pretty popular on the bookish community last year. And so I wanted to make sure that I read it. It is a follow-up book to an earlier one that she wrote called Every Summer After. And it includes two characters, Alice and Charlie, and they are both staying at a lake. One that both of them grew up often frequenting with their families, and it's a story of sort of finding your way. Alice is a very shy person. She sort of stays in the back of everything, really tries to keep to herself, and Charlie is very extroverted and sort of out there, and they sort of bring the different parts of their characters and their personalities out for each other. It's a love story, but it's also a lot about family trauma and struggles and grief, and really just a beautiful, beautiful love story. So I love that book so much, and I'm going to go back and read Every Summer After, the one prior to that too. The next one that I read was called Blood and Steel, and this is a fantasy series, romantasy, I guess I would say, by Helen Scheuerer, and it is about a young lady who is well, first of all, this book is the first of the Legends of Thesmar series, and I believe there's 3 or 4 books. I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or if there's a 4th book, but this story is about Althea and her sister Wren, and they were dropped off as young children at the gates to this village and grew up in an orphanage together. They, as they are growing up, start to train as alchemists in the village. During their training, Althea, the main character, really is finding herself drawn to wanting to, she's just dead set on becoming a warrior in the village. Well, in this village, women are banned to wield any kind of weaponry. And so it's a big no-no. And so she trains in secret for many, many years and becomes very strong, very capable. And she's recognized by some of the village leaders and is given an opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity, to train in the guard, to become a warrior in the village. And so she meets new people, she meets new friends. One of them is Wilder Hawthorne, who is a very strong, very well-known warrior in that village, and he becomes her mentor. And it's a love story between the two of them, lots of yearning, slow burn kind of romance, but really, really fun in seeing how the world is built and the magic and the way that the alchemists use their potions and their chemicals and all of that kind of stuff to heal people and to wield their magic. And watching Althea go through her training processes, it was really, really fun. So that's the first book in this series, and I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of them. The 6th book I read was called The 7 O'Clock Club, and I just came across this. I am signed up for Libby, which is an app that you can use to borrow books from your local library. And I was searching one day just for something fun to read, and I came across this book, and I just was shocked and surprised at how much I loved it. It was a complete surprise. And this book is about a lot of grief and loss. There's a lady in the beginning who thinks that she wins a lottery to be able to be a participant in, hold on just a minute, my dog needs to go outside. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but my little dog Stanley, as soon as I'm immersed in a book or a telephone call or filming a video, he has to go outside every time. I think he just wants attention. He misses his mom, right? Okay, so we're back. Getting a little drink of coffee as well. Okay, so we're talking about the 7 O'Clock Club. So the main character in the book is an older lady, and she thinks that she wins a contest to be able to be a participant in a new scientifically designed program for dealing with grief and loss. She has recently lost her mother. She's really, really struggling. And so at the advice of her husband, she signs up for this lottery or this contest and wins it, and is selected to be a participant in what they call the 7 O'Clock Club, which is just that they meet, this group of people meet together at 7 o'clock at night. So in this story, she meets other people that are also dealing with grief and loss. She's very reluctant. She's hasn't really talked about the loss of her mother and how that's affected her, and very uncomfortable. So the first several sessions, she's just listening to the stories that the facilitator encourages other people to tell. And each time someone shares, the facilitator gives them homework to do, gives them an assignment to try, and it's just she explains it as it's just one step forward in working through your process of dealing with your grief. And so the character is listening to that, and as she's listening to that, she feels like she's really connecting with some of these people, really understanding that the grief and loss that she's experiencing is universal in terms of the feelings, but not particularly, linear when it comes to how people deal with grief, and that each person has their own journey that they need to walk through with journey. So it's a sad book, but also it's a very heartwarming, positive story about working through that process, and that you can come out on the other end and not forget the person that you lost for sure, but certainly be able to walk through that process. And if you have a community around you that understand what you're going through and can help you through that process, all the better. In this book, though, I thought that it was just a fiction book about grief and loss when I first started it. What I realized, though, about a quarter of the way through is that the facilitator of this group has some secrets, and the participants start to identify some of those, or at least have an inkling that something else is going on other than this group that they're attending. And so it is actually a thriller novel, and in the middle of it there is a twist. A twist that knocked my socks off. I had no idea it was coming. Completely caught me off guard and was amazing. And I don't even know how to say. I just sat there just shocked. I just was shocked, but it was such a great twist in the story, and added so much to the ending of the story. But this overall, this thriller, along with many other twists that come along as the book goes along, talks a lot about the need for friendships and relationships and support in your life, just in general, but especially when you're going through a tragedy like this. And really just a heartwarming, heartbreaking story, but it's also about resilience and friendship and relationships, and so I would highly recommend it. Oh, and that twist, I'll tell you. Okay, number 7. This is another series that I started this month, and it's called A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. And this is a romantic series also that I started, and several books in it, and it's about a shield maiden named Freya, who has been blessed by the gods, and she has one drop of blood that she got from the high goddess, and that means that she has the ability to wield magic as well. She doesn't know what that is as she's growing up. She has no idea. She has no idea how to even, conjure up the magic, but she does know that she has that possibility. And so as she's growing up and as she's coming of age, she finds herself being wed to a very power-hungry king after a brief marriage that the king kills her first husband. And then this power-hungry king wants to use her abilities and use her ways of being a shield maiden, along with the possibility of the magic, to take power of the other kingdoms. And so this is a story as she's going through trying to find her way, trying to find her powers, but also trying to survive this terrible marriage that she finds herself in. There is a forbidden love. There are battles. There are world building sequences, and it's just a really fun, very fast moving, but easy to read first book in the series. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. So that was A Fate Inked in Blood. My 8th book. Oh my gosh, the 8th book. This is a series of books, and it's called The Unsolicited Books of Emma M. Lyon. This is book number 1, and it's by Beth Brower. Now, I've heard of this over and over and over again, and I watch a lot of the reviews on YouTube of people talking about this. I am not usually an historical fiction fan, usually. I find sometimes they're very slow paced. I like the thrillers, I like the mysteries, I like the romances that go very quickly. And so I don't usually gravitate towards historical fiction, but the more and more I heard about these books, the more I just really, really wanted to try them. And I'm so, so glad that I did. I mean, talk about changing your view on historical fiction. Oh. So I think there's 8 books in this series, if I'm right. And it is about, all these books are diary entries, daily diary entries by Emma M. Lyons. And she is a character who lives in London in the 1800s, late 1800s, I think it's 1863 or so. And it's just talking about her life. But this character is so smart and witty and funny. She tends to really want to stay to herself, live a very peaceful life. She lives in a boarding house. She wants to, you know, just really kind of stay to herself, live her life. But she has a very eccentric cousin who comes, and an aunt that really don't want her to live this simple life. They want to get her into some mischief, and it's just a tale of her day-to-days. And oh my gosh, I just sped through. They're very short, they're very small, but very short novels, but there's 8 of them, and I have 2 of them now on hold through the Libby app. The Libby app, you have to wait your turn, sort of, you know, if other readers have checked this book out. And so I'm waiting and waiting, and I cannot wait to get to the next ones. What a delightful story. I'm just loving it, every single minute of it. The 9th book that I read was Yours Truly by Abbey Jimenez. And this is the first book that I've read of Abbey's. Again, it was she's a very famous author. I've been hearing about her, but I had kind of gotten away from romantic, rom-com kind of books recently in the last few years, and so I just kind of, you know, pushed it aside, but I really decided I was going to dive in and try some of her books. And so the first one that I tried this year was called Yours Truly, and love this story. Very fast-paced book. It's a rom-com, and it is or a contemporary romance, I guess you could say. That's the way to say it nowadays. It's about 2 doctors, Brianna and Jacob. They both are ER physicians. Brianna is working in a hospital, and Jacob then starts to work at the hospital. So he's the new physician, the newbie. And he makes a terrible first impression on everyone. He comes off as very gruff, very sort of domineering, and just, you know, people immediately are taken aback by him, including Brianna. And so there's a huge struggle between the 2 of them in terms of who's going to take what cases, and just the first few days are terrible for the 2 of them. Jacob realizes very quickly that he's made a terrible impression, and the reality is that he's a very introverted, sort of awkward kind of a guy, and he doesn't do well in social settings. And so when he realizes what a terrible impression that he's made, not only on Brianna but all the staff, he tries to reach out to her in a way that might not put up her defenses. And so he decides that he's going to write her a letter. And so he writes this little letter, and it's very sweet, and he apologizes for this terrible impression that he's made, and he really tries to explain that he was just very nervous and very anxious, and an awkward feeling, and didn't know what to say in different situations, and sort of put his foot in his mouth when he first met her. And it really, she finds it, and she really softens to him. You know, she's a little bit leery, but she really softens to him and really loves the fact that he wrote her a letter. And so as the story progresses, they start writing back and forth. They don't even have any kind of like verbal relationship at all. They don't speak to each other when they're working. They're very professional, but in the background, they're writing letters back and forth. And it's just this very sweet romance that develops through the writing of these letters. And they find that they have an awful lot in common. They share a very quick wit and humor styles, and it's just a very sweet, heartwarming, romantic comedy that develops between the two of them, and just a delightful story. So I just loved it, loved it, loved it. There's a portion of this the story that they call the sob closet, and it's a closet, a janitor's closet, I believe, that Brianna goes in one day, and she has had a terrible day, and she's just sobbing in there in the closet, and he accidentally walks in on her because he's looking for a quiet place to just kind of chill down and calm down too. And so then they call it the sob closet. So they actually meet for lunch dates between their letters in this sob closet. Excuse me, in this sob closet. And so it's just really, really, really cute. Lots, you know, the stories about first impressions and relationships and friendships and family issues, and just a very heartwarming story. Loved it. And then the next one that I read was called Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. And if you haven't read this series, this is actually the second book in the series, and I didn't realize it until I was about halfway through the book. But this adorable book is about, excuse me, talking too much, is about an older lady. I think she's in her 60s. I say older. I turned 60 this last week. It was, what a surreal experience, thinking that I am not really feeling like like I think a 60-year-old should feel. And then reading about this lady that they call an old lady, and she's a busybody. And I just thought that the comparison was just so cute. I don't have anywhere to put my coffee. All right. Anyway, this book is delightful. Vera, the main character, is from China, and she's very set in her ways, and she has a very strong opinion on how people should behave around her. Very proper. And but she likes to get involved and meddle in other people's business all the time. And so she finds herself getting involved in a missing person case of a girl that she just comes across, who she can tell is upset. She starts to talk to her. She realizes that she needs some help, and she gets involved in this missing person case, and she ends up getting involved in this whole murder mystery. Actually, it's I would say it's a little bit of a trigger warning if you're sensitive to child trafficking. Even though this book is a comedy book, mystery book, and really is very positive and delightful, there is a section that's included in this that's about child trafficking and how this all unravels in this mystery. It's a short part of the book, but just to be aware of that. But it's delightful in how she gets all of her friends and all of her family members involved in solving this case for this young woman. And I actually read or listened to this on audio. And if you can listen to it on audiobook, if you're interested in this book, I would highly recommend it. The narration of this book is so cute and so animated, and it just sort of sucks you into this whole story and this whole life of Vera and how she is entangled in everyone's lives. It's just a delightful book. And again, this is the second one in the series, and I'm hoping for another one too, but I'm gonna have to go back and read the first one in the series as well. The next one I read was another Abbey Jimenez book. I liked her first one, Yours Truly, so much that I ordered another one to be from Libby to check out. And that one was called Say You'll Remember Me by Abbey Jimenez. This book is another contemporary romance book, and it's about Xavier and Samantha. Xavier is a veterinarian, and Samantha gets a new kitten, or finds a kitten, and she brings him in to be treated by Xavier at the vet. And immediately Xavier gets on the wrong foot again, kind of like the first book that I read, but obviously in a different way, and puts his foot in his mouth, and Samantha is immediately taken aback and does not like this vet and wants to change doctors and doesn't want him to treat her little kitten. And but as they go through, Samantha decides to put together a GoFundMe page to get her cat needs a very serious operation. And so she goes on social media and raises money to help her get this cat the surgery that is required. And he sees that, Xavier sees that on social media and is just floored about how successful she is. Also how funny she is in her posts about this kitty. It's not a funny subject that the kitty's sick, but how she gathers people's interest in this little kitten and raises the money for it, and it's just really heartwarming. What she finds out though is that Xavier is not the person that she thought he was. He's very invested in his community, very invested in animal care. Didn't settle well with her at first, but they become fast friends and find out that they have a lot in common. And the difficulty though is that they end up going on a date, an unplanned date together. They're just friends up until then, and then they find themselves on a first date, which absolutely turns into this magical first date for both of them. And they find that they have so much in common and really want to see where this might take them. The problem is though, in the story, Samantha has to move to take care of a family member in California, and Xavier obviously is stuck where he's at. He has his own, vet clinic and family ties and friends and things like that, and a very established career where he's at, and they just can't be in the same place. And so it's a long distance relationship that they know is just not going to work. And so the story is about them struggling between wanting to be together, knowing that they can't be together, not finding ways that they can mesh each other's lives together. And it's just really, it's heart-wrenching to watch as that transpires. And, can they work that out? Can they not work that out? So it's really just a lovely, lovely story. So Say You'll Remember Me is a great, great story. Number 12, Something in the Water. This is another one that I just came by on Libby. I was searching one day. Again, on Libby, you have to wait your turn. And so sometimes there's a gap between when your next book is available. But there are some that are available immediately that they list for you. And so I was just kind of scrolling through, trying to find a book in the interim before my next book came up. And this thriller came up, and I love anything that has to do with a water scene. And so when I saw that it was called Something in the Water, and it was a thriller, I was immediately hooked. This one is by Catherine Steadman, and it is about a newlywed couple who go on their honeymoon together in Bora Bora. And, it's just paradise there. And they're, they're going to all these romantic dinners, and they're staying in this resort, and they're just having an amazing time. And they decide to go scuba diving. And he's an avid scuba diver, and the Erin, who is the female character, is not real great about, she's a little bit scared about the scuba diving, but she agrees to go, and she gets trained to do that. And so they go scuba diving, and again, just a magical time together. One day, they're off the boat, and they're diving down, and they see something in the water. And it just blows their socks off. They don't know what to do. And so that is what the story is wrapped around. And wow, talk about twists and turns, and the hair, just the hair on the back of my neck stood up several times in the movie, or in the story. Just very fast paced, very fast moving thriller about how they're going to deal with what they saw in the water. And they deal with it very differently. Erin deals with it one way, her husband deals with it another way, still trying to, work as a partnership, and how they're going to navigate this, but it changes their lives on a dime. And working through that after they return to their lives, it is really difficult on the relationship. But oh boy, gosh, lots of twists and turns, and wrote a great page turner this book was. Okay, and my last two books that I finished for the month of February. Number 13 was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Now, again, I'm a new reader to Alice Feeney. I know I'm way behind the times for most of the bookish people, but oh wow, this book, another thriller. This is about a couple who, I believe they win a contest to go away to a remote cottage in Scotland for a getaway. And they're so looking forward to it. They're wanting to work on their relationship. They're wanting to, sort of start communicating again. They find themselves way off in the boondocks, all by themselves, very remote, and they start talking about their relationship, and they're, having drinks and they're having dinner, and all of a sudden they realize that some strange things are happening in the cottage, and they can't quite decide if it's somebody trying to play a trick on them, or if they think it's ghosts, or if what they think it is. But some very strange happenings in the cottage start to happen. Now, the backstory is that Adam's wife has been writing him letters every year on their anniversary. And she's never let him read those letters, but it's sort of telling a backstory of the development of their relationship and where some of the problems started. But he's unaware that she's been writing these letters to her. And then they also have been exchanging gifts for the 10 years that they were married. Very traditional books like the paper, silver, bronze, all of that kind of stuff for each anniversary, which is really interesting to commemorate their anniversary, and very special, very thoughtful gifts, and how that has helped with evolving their relationship going forward. This is a thriller book though, and there are so many wonderful twists and turns in this that just make you question everything that you have read. I just several times stopped reading and had to think back about what on earth I might have missed, because I just didn't see them coming. Now, sometimes I can predict in the thrillers what's happening or what the twist might be. Not in this book. Lots and lots of great, great surprises in this book, in this telling of relationships of these people that are involved in this cottage stay, so to speak. But it's also really interesting about the stories about the Scotland and the people that are living in this village. Really, really captivating story about these two people and their relationship. And it makes you think about, like, do you truly know the people in your life? Do you truly know them as well as you think that you do? And really great book, really great book. Very entertaining. And the last one I read was just a short story, a novella, I think is what they call them, called The Fall Risk. And this is also by Abbey Jimenez. This was my month of Abbey Jimenez. But it was called The Fall Risk, and it was just a short story. I actually didn't realize it was a short story until I had read halfway through and realized that it was only a couple hours long in the audiobook. And so, but it was really a cute, cute story. Another contemporary romance from her. And it's about two people that are stranded in an apartment complex during Valentine's Day. And neither of them have a Valentine. And so they get to talking as they're stranded, not able to get out of this room that they find themselves in. And just getting to know each other and really just developing a relationship and finding out their commonalities, but also, about their pasts and things like that. And it was just a delightful, very quick read, and heartwarming and bubbly, and just loved the story. She's a great storyteller. I love her writing. Again, very quick and just very, I don't know, it's just a feel-good kind of a book. So I would certainly recommend, if you just have a couple of hours to read, just pick that one up, Fall Risk by Abbey Jimenez. And then there were three that I DNF'd this month. One was called The Spellshop by Beth Durst. I had heard about this. I had heard it was a very whimsical, mystery, magical. There's 2 books in the series, and it's about books and it's about a library, and I was just so, that's my thing, and I was just so excited to read this, but I really had a lot of trouble. It was just very slow paced, I guess I would say. The main character, befriends a plant in this library that has spells books, and it was just too, I didn't find it whimsical. I just found it kind of just very blah. So I might revisit it another time, but I just couldn't seem to connect with the character. So that was a DNF. The next 2 were very big surprises for me in terms of being DNFs. One is called Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I had heard about this book. Some people really loved it. Some people really hated it. V.E. Schwab has another book, The Tales of Addie LaRue, I believe it was, and I haven't read that one either. Same kind of reaction though from readers, either love it or hate it kind of a thing. And so I really was so looking forward to this book. It's about 3 different timelines of 3 different women. One way back in the early ages of history, one current one, and then one in the middle. There's vampires in this book, I was told. There are, strong relationships. And I just couldn't, I probably went through about, I think, 40% of the book or so, I would say, and I just couldn't connect with it. And so this is one I might try to pick up again, maybe at a different time, different mood, I don't know. But really struggled with that one, so I sadly had to put that one down. And then another one that I had to put down was called Blood Over Bright Haven. And this is by M.L. Wong. This is another book that was really highly recommended by many of the bookish people, book reviewers that I watch, and just love this book, and I just could not get into it. It was very slow. It's another, I believe, romantasy. It's but the world in it was very. Usually when I'm reading a mystery, it's like, lots of detail about this world and the magic in it, and the, the warriors or the dragons or the, whatever it is that's included in the world. And this one was just very, I don't know, I just couldn't catch my attention. It didn't catch my attention. So I read about 30% of this book, I think, and then I finally just had to put it down. I was really looking for a lot of action and adventure and love interests, and I just couldn't do it. So I don't know if I'll pick this one up again. Disappointed. So anyway, 14 books that I absolutely loved this month. Oh, what a great reading month for me. I have jumped into March. I know I'm a little bit late in getting this out this week, but really just jumped in headfirst in reading again. One thing that I've noticed with Libby, although I love that that's free, and I love that you can put yourself on a list and, get the books as they come up. So it's a never evolving kind of rotation of books. I feel a little bit of pressure because you can only borrow them for 2 weeks at a time. I feel a little bit of a time pressure to race through a book to get it done before it's due back, which is silly because it's 2 weeks, and usually I read books in 2 days most of the time, especially if I'm reading them on audiobook. But knowing that I have the other ones in the hold queue, I feel this sort of pressure to keep going and keep going and keep going. What I'm finding though in doing that is that I did read 14 books, which is a lot more than I normally read. I read about 8 books a month usually, or so, 10 books. Is that when I race through them, then I look back and I don't always remember everything. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm savoring these books, and I want to remember the books that I'm reading, especially the ones that I'm loving so much. And so I'm not expecting to read as many in March. I'm going to slow myself down a little bit. I don't have to have everything that comes up on Q and Libby. you can suspend your hold for a little while, you know, if you're not ready to hold it. So there's no reason to race through that, but that was one thing that I found that I was doing this month. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed your February reads. I hope that you will pick up some of these books. I will list them all down in the description so that you can pick them up if you have a chance. But yeah, what a great reading month, and I'm so looking forward to March as well. Thank you so much for joining me. If you love this, if this was helpful, if you related to it, please think about subscribing. I would love to have you return to my channel, and it's also helpful to get the content out to other viewers as well, so that would be a great help if you don't mind, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.